Just heard the other day that SidneyPoitier had just passed away. I wanted to put this on the record that I met him once, not professionally. We sat next to each other on a trip from New York to LA, obviously from JFK to LA, in the very first row of first class on a 747. And I know it was the first row because we were downstairs. We weren't on the top level of the 747. We were downstairs, and we were right there because there was nothing in front of us. There was just a wall there. And what really happened was, I had a seat. I was in A1, and he was in A2. So that shows you. But I had a seat much further back in the of first class. And I went to sit in my seat. And this woman was there sitting in my seat, and she said she didn't speak English, and they sort of they helped us decide that she didn't want to sit where she was supposed to sit, which turned out to be next to SidneyPoitier. I'll let you leave that to be your own, figure that out for yourself. So I went up and I sat down next to him, and I noticed, the only two black guys in first class, maybe been assigned to sit next to each other. So I had no idea who it was. I had no idea it was SidneyPoitier. It was just two black guys sitting in the front row of first class. So I sat there. I just nodded. I did not recognize him. I took my seat next to the window. He was on the aisle. And the flight takes off, and he is getting attention from the stewardesses, more attention than anybody else was getting. So they started going through the cabin to ask you what your meal preferences were. And it's evidently started at the back, and they were working their way forward. And I heard the stewardess come up and very quietly say to him, "We have one duck left. Would you like it?" And he evidently said yes. So then he came up the aisle, and he came to me and said, "What would you like?" I said, "I like the ducks. The duck's gone." We were out of duck. Now, I still didn't know who I was saying yes to, but then I saw two and two became the next four, and I came to realize this is fucking SidneyPoitier. But I was not going to say something like, "Oh my God." I realized that he needed his privacy, and I let him sit. And we didn't have the internet then, I don't think, but I did know that he had just come off of directing Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder in the movie Stir Crazy in the Arizona State Prison. And the stories that came out of that were amazing. But I remembered that. So dinner came. I had chicken instead of duck. And we're sitting there eating. I had not said anything to him at all. So while we were eating dinner, paying attention to our food and not anything else, I said to him, "Well, Mr. Poitier, how was it directing Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor?" He said, "That was very interesting." At which point, he went on to tell me stories, which I don't remember actually, about having to go through what he had to go through in his first directorial. I think it was his first directorial experience. The movie on the flight was Robbie Benson in Tribute. And he took the time to point out directorial issues to me as we went through that. As the movie progressed, we both watched it. For some reason, I think they had a drop-down screen, so we were both watching the same screen as were others in first class. He told me, he just said, this is why he did that. Look at this, look at that, look at that. He told me that he doesn't allow his children to have TV in their bedrooms. There was that kind of discussion. It wasn't constant. We weren't like great friends. After dinner, as we were approaching landing, others recognized him, and we moved around a little bit, and people were engaging him in conversation. This was well before 9/11. I mean, there was different security issues, but I remember that after we arrived in LA and the doors were opening, disappeared. It was LA. They had this way of taking him down backstairs and putting him on different things, and he disappeared. I never had a chance to say goodbye. This was one of the most gracious and wonderful persons I've met, not to mention that he was just a star, but he was just a gracious gentleman. And I've loved telling this story to so many of my friends as the one thing in my life. We're 20 years difference. I'm 74 and he was 94. So I was probably 24 and he was 44 at the time that this happened. It was just like, wow, what a wonderful thing for somebody to do, somebody to share, somebody to be. Good stories, good times, good people. This is our life.